Can we bump Representative Schmidt back over to a panelist?
Yes.
Thank
All
you.
right, for those attendees, I apologize that we had technical difficulty and had to close the main meeting to run that executive session, so apologies to the public.
Looks like we just about got everybody back. I hope that Commissioner Menzer knows to use the previous link per the question he asked. Let's go ahead and call roll
Damon Doyle,
here.
Todd Byerther, Shell Anderson,
I'm here.
Jay Arnold,
Here.
Justin Borgo,
Here.
Tom Handy,
Here.
Angela. Thank you. Angela Hogg,
Here.
Roger Haringa,
Here.
Matthew Hepner, Craig Holt, Ty Menzer, Ben O'Mara,
Here.
Pete Reiki,
Here.
Katie Sheehan,
Here.
I see Todd Bayreuther on now.
Dan Young,
Here.
and back to Todd.
Here.
Thank you. And Ty
Yeah.
Menzer.
I have a feeling Ty might be following the exact link rather than this link.
Could I get you guys to shoot him an email, just for the copy of the council?
We have a quorum though.
Yeah, well, let's get him the right link so he can join us.
I'll keep an eye for him joining the attendees as well.
Okay, perfect. All right. So item number 8. Dustin, is there anything we need to do here?
Only if you guys feel there's need to move on anything, when I don't think there's any necessary. Oh, one thing that I would like to maybe ask is, we have our legal committee as established. I would like to maybe expand their authority, to, act on behalf of any existing lawsuits, for the SBCC. Or to be, to have the lawsuits that we have currently or potential lawsuits coming that, that legal work group, has the authority to interact with the legal team on behalf of the council.
Okay, who is on that group at this point in time?
Ooh. I don't have the list pulled up right in front of me. I apologize.
Okay, is it something you can find?
Yeah, it'll take me a second, so,
Okay. In the meantime, Todd?
Thank you. I just like to raise the question to the council whether there is desire and need for another executive session.
The only thing I would caution there is I don't think our attorneys are expecting us to come back. We could schedule something for a later date.
Yeah, I didn't mean right now. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you though.
With that caveat, it did seem like, this is Dave Merchant, it did seem like there was some ground yet to cover, and some questions unanswered. But again, it'd be better if you had the whole team there.
Yeah. Pete, go ahead.
Yeah, that was a bit of a fire hose. So I would really much appreciate a more lengthy, more in-depth executive session at some point in the future.
Agreed. Okay. Dustin, do you want to come back to your question on the
Yes, if we could come back at other business, maybe that would be most appropriate. Give me some time to get that.
Okay, perfect. Item number 9, a letter from BIW regarding initiative 2066. That initiative was included in the packet. Any discussion on the initiative? Anything? Oh, there we go. Chell, go ahead.
Thank you. And I had sent in a brief presentation to staff because I'm at an airport right now, so I'm spotty internet and all.
I've got that on screen for you now, Chell.
I appreciate it. Thank you. So when we looked at the codes last year to have them comply with EPCA, de-risk them under EPCA, we say what you will, but if we got them to comply with EPCA, I think that they then also generally would comply with 2066. 2066, you can see two RCWs down here. One is the RCW 27A160, and the other one is 27A020, which is the new I-2066 language with regards to the energy code. So the energy code may not in any way prohibit, penalize, or discourage the use of gas for any form of heating. And then the purpose of the energy code is to reduce the net annual energy consumption using the 2006 Washington State Energy Code as a baseline. And despite what you've heard about a gas ban from some entities, there's not a gas ban. The 2021 codes were carefully crafted to be based on efficiency. So gas is not incentivized and electricity is not incentivized. It's about efficiency. When a gas appliance is more efficient, it gets points for that. When a electric appliance is more efficient, it gets points for that. That's not what a lot of people have heard, but that's the truth about the math that goes into the points tables for both the residential and the commercial energy code. I'm going to focus on the residential because it's easier to talk about residential. The commercial energy code has lots of building types in it, and so it's really complex to talk about. But the 2018 energy code report, the baseline report for residential, you see the gas home on the left and the electric heat pump home on the right. And both of these were compliance paths. But if you follow the electric compliance path, you end up with a much more efficient home than if you follow the gas path. So in the 2015, the gas home was not required to meet the same level of efficiency under the energy code. In other words, it got a free pass, and they were treated very separately, which doesn't seem to comply with a one-to-one energy use provision under EPCA that energy codes are allowed under EPCA if energy efficiency is provided on a one-to-one basis.
Excuse me, Chill. We're still
Yeah.
looking at the first slide here. Just want to make sure.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Sorry.
Okay. Thank you. I should go beep or something like that. Okay. Yeah. So the second slide was the gas home versus the electric home, and this is the 2018 baseline energy code report for residential. So because of the efficiency of the heat pump, the heat pump home is overall more efficient. And this includes a heat pump water heater and a heat pump space heater for it. But basically, these were melded together to form the overall, if you can go to the next page, our progress towards a 70% energy use reduction that the state asks us to do under those codes made the heat pump home do a lot more and the gas home do a lot less, and then average that efficiency. And that was what we reported to the legislature is the average home in the state of Washington according to those codes. Go to the next page. Oh, one back. The one with the blue and red line. Yeah, that one. Yeah. Yep. So so this basically is what I said. That in 2018, blend gas home with a heat pump home. In 2021, we used the same baseline for both homes. And I'll get to that on the next slide. So energy efficiency is rewarded. Gas is not rewarded or prohibited or discouraged. Electricity is not prohibited or rewarded or discouraged. Efficiency is what is rewarded and discouraged. And efficiency is the basis of all the credits. And we went through this in the tag, went through this in the committee, and we went through this in the council level. Efficiency is the basis of all the credits in R602, R406.2, and R406.3. And the energy equalization table, if these credits could well be in the R406.3 table, and I think in the next cycle we'll probably do that, but these are the same energy use efficiency that are in the rest of the table. So 0 is the gas, that's the baseline for everything. But you get 1.5 credits for using a federal EPCA minimum heat pump. Well, because it's more efficient, not because we like heat pumps, but because they're more efficient. And it's based on the same, every half credit is based on the same amount of energy efficiency, regardless of whether it's electricity or gas use. So it's efficiency. It's not about preference for gas or electricity. You can go to the next slide. So EPCA, if you look at C under EPCA, so there's 7 things under EPCA that say you can do an energy code if you do these things. And C is the particularly relevant one right here, which is you have to do an energy conservation standard based on a 1-for-1 equivalent energy. You can't say, oh, I like electricity better, I'm gonna give more credit to electricity. You can't say, I like gas better, I'm gonna give more credit to gas. They're based on 1-to-1 equivalent energy use. And that's what the codes were based on. So when I read the BIAW letter, I said, okay, if I interpret that, and they provided no detail, so I'm sure they'll provide detail and I'll respond to that. But option 1 is, okay, gas appliances cannot be disincentivized. Well, does that mean electrical appliances must be penalized or somehow disincentivized? Because if that was the answer, then that would violate EPCA. And that would include if we remove table 406.2 or 406.3 or modify them. I mean, I guess we could modify them, but if we remove them, that would violate EPCA, to the best of my knowledge. Or the option 2 is gas and electric appliances are not disincentivized. Well, then it's about efficiency, which is exactly the code that we have. So I guess I don't see what the letter's doing. Is there another slide here?
Just one more.
Okay. And then I guess the commercial energy code is based on the same things, but it's way more complex because there's different pathways, but they're all modeled to use the same amount of energy, whether it's gas, whether it's electricity, or some combination of the two. So I guess it's about energy efficiency, and it's been about energy efficiency, and we have robust data showing that the credits are based on the energy efficiency of appliances and not based on any preference for electricity or gas. So I guess I don't see why 2066 would affect the energy code as we have it. Thank you.
Okay, and just one comment, Shell, before I call on people. Both Department of Energy and Energy Star have recently focused on source energy versus site energy. And your calculations are correct if you do a site energy approach. But if you do it from a source energy approach, it's not necessarily the same, depending on what the utility is using to produce that electricity. So.
Yeah, can I respond to that?
Sure.
Sure. So, and we had this conversation at building code councils for many years, right? It's gone back and forth and back and forth. Source energy assumes, well, people who promote source energy assume that perhaps gas is being burned or coal is being burned somewhere far away, and it has, it's 30% efficient or so in combustion, and then there's transmission losses. And so it gets to your site as electricity, but most of the electricity is gone because or most of the energy is gone because the coal or the gas burned and went up the stack instead of being turned into electricity because it's an inefficient process. Most of our energy in this state is hydro, and a growing percentage of it is wind and solar. And those have a site to source ratio that is very close to 1. I mean, there's transmission losses and a few other things, but they're really close to 1. So site to source makes sense, perhaps, in other states, but not in Washington. And I can get more detail into that, but I will if somebody wants me to, but that's it. If you talk to some people who know a lot about site and source energy, it just doesn't apply to Washington in the way that it would apply to other states.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and go with our council first. Tom, please.
Yeah, I think it's important that we don't continue to overlook the main focus behind 2066, and that was not necessarily that the efficiency components of being penalized, but it's the financial component of compliance that becomes a penalty, you know, and I think that is what's really driving all of that. Because in order to go along with the fossil fuel compliance pathway, and it costs you an extra $30,000-$40,000 for a home to do that, that seems to me like it's a penalty of sorts, you know, and it makes it hard for people to choke down. So I think that was the main impetus behind 2066, and I don't think we should ignore that.
Thank you, Tom. Todd?
Well, if Shell wanted to rebut that, I'm happy to let him go, but I do have a question for Shell otherwise.
I mean, I guess my response to that is the Building Code Council now compelled to make gas the most efficient first cost for every home in Washington and every building in Washington? Because that seems not what the 2066 says. If we're required to make gas the absolute cheapest thing for every source and every building, I guess I would love to see the legal arguments for that. If not, then I guess I don't see the where you're going with that, Tom.
Well, perhaps maybe I'm just not clear. So we'll let this go. Go ahead, Todd.
Todd?
Yeah, so thank you, Shell. Could you or someone else then also educate us just briefly on the other pathways, especially in the residential code, the R405 performance pathway or the R407 passive house, and what this might mean for gas? Or if that puts you on the spot too much, that's okay too. That's what I've been thinking.
Are you asking me to provide that?
Yeah, I mean, I think my understanding is you presented the prescriptive pathway, right? And I'm curious about what it means in the performance pathway.
Yeah, so basically what the tag did was create the R406 path in the residential energy code, and then figure out a modeling path under R405 that would meet the same energy standard as that under the R406 and prescriptive path. So that's how the 405 path was, the numbers for the R405 path were created. Does that answer your question?
I guess my question is, aren't those other two pathways, haven't they always been available to include gas, and you could take the performance pathway? They're
available, and you can use gas as your base fuel federal minimum in any path, or the prescriptive are including R406, as well as the R405 path. So you can use gas in any path in the residential code, and then the commercial code. If you use gas and don't comply with any of the exceptions for gas, then you use the fossil fuel path.
Thank you.
Okay, before I reach out to our attendees, Scott Peterson, you had your hand up first at one point. I don't know if you want to chime in or not. Johnny Coker.
Yeah, hey there. Thanks for giving me time to chat here. Johnny Kocher here with RMI. I'm mostly commenting, pardon me? I'm mostly commenting on the BIAW letter. I think that it is not being approached in good faith. it requests that the State Building Code Council roll back the energy code to 2015. This would increase utility bills by $229, according to analysis by RMI, and set us back 3 code cycles in energy reductions. The code cycles being the 70% reduction required by 2030. Based on emissions of a home built today, that would add 1.2 metric tons of CO2 annually per home. If we were to roll back to a 2015 code. And by 2030, when our electrical grid is required to achieve carbon neutrality, that would be 4.4 metric tons, which is equivalent to a car. So every new house built in the next 3 years would be adding a new car to the road. And we build about 46,500 homes a year in Washington, so that'd be adding about 140,000 cars to the road over the next 3 years by listening to this letter, which is frankly not about fuel use or anything. It's about efficiency, which is what this entire thing has always been about. It's a full rollback on efficiency, and I highly encourage the State Building Code Council to not follow this. Thank you.
Thank you. Greg?
Yeah, I was just wanting to go back and correct some facts that were stated. So I have operational data from the utility, which I'd be happy to supply to you. And just to correct on the profile of electric grid, and a lot of this actually is part of it is actually open records. You can go to Western Electric Coordinating Council WEC. And actually pull profiles for all the utilities, although it's an average, not necessarily real time. But anyways, I want to say is the electric grid cleanness of the grid varies with the time of year, and that's very important. So in the springtime, when you have lots of water flowing in the rivers, you have sun out in the shining bright, and you have winds blowing high, you have like 90% clean or plus on the grid. But in the wintertime, when you don't have the flows on the river, and you don't have the sun's not shining and the wind's not blowing, we're highly dependent on natural gas, and we might be 20% clean is all, and it might be 80% natural gas, depending on where you're at. So the distinction of it varies over time, and that's very significant because heat pumps, great technology, highly supportive of doing it, having those very best technology for the springtime when you have lots of abundant clean power, and also if your heat pumps operate at the peak efficiency in the 47 degrees range. When you get down below zero or below 30 degrees, but even especially when you get colder, heat pumps approach the same efficiency as electric resistive heat, because it is so much harder to extract heat out of 0 degree air than it is out of 47 degree air. And so there is a misconception, and I mean, most of this pertains to supplemental heat. When you treat supplemental heat the same and you say, well, we're basing on efficiency, you're not really, when you actually are trying to use heat pumps efficiency for 47 degrees and apply it to a 0 degree condition. So it's important to correct that fact on the record.
Thank you. Scott?
Hey, thank you, Scott Peterson with the Northwest Gas Association. Just actually, Gregory said better than said it better than I can say it. The only thing I would add is we welcome an honest accounting of efficiency that factors in everything Gregory said, time of year, temperature, power source, factoring in intermittency, factoring in line loss, considering much of our renewable power has to come from, Colorado and Wyoming and out of state because we don't have the resource built here yet. So if there's a fair and honest accounting of efficiency, we welcome that.
Okay, great, thank you. Jim Lazar.
Thanks very much. I just want to, my expertise is the electric utility industry, and I've worked all over the world in it. Under the Clean Energy Transformation Act, the fossil energy will be gone from Washington's power system well within the life of new buildings being built. And while I think the previous speakers who have said you need to look at real data is something I agree with, that data needs to be looked at not in the past as they've done, but over the life of the buildings. And it's the life cycle of the buildings, and whether that's a 50-year or 70-year lifetime has been debated in past code processes, but it's a long time into the future. I'm speaking to you from a house that was built in 1963, and we still think of it as our new house. The second is the item that I mentioned in open mic, which Kel just addressed, which is site versus source energy. And if you move to a site energy basis, I think you comply with 2066. You account for the differences in efficiency of different types of appliances on the customer side of the meter, and you can also account for, however you choose, on-site generation. Finally, a couple of corrections. Yes, a lot of our wind energy will be from Montana and even North Dakota, but the wind energy tends to peak in the wintertime. It tends to be actually a very good complement for hydro. A system made up of a mix of hydro, wind, and solar needs very, very little fossil to support it. I've done studies in several regions of the world on that, and there's a professor at Stanford, Mark Jacobson, who's actually done analysis for every one of the US states, and a wind, solar, water, hydro system can provide reliable service at affordable cost. And that's where we will be going under CETA. There may be some nuclear in the mix, and that's also a non-fossil resource that does have high thermal emissions. But I think really the solution, the BAW is sort of missing the point. First of all, the initiative is not law yet. The initiative the election hasn't been certified. I expect it will be. Second, the council needs to do a rulemaking process to make any changes, and I look forward to participating in that. And third, I urge you to begin looking at the site-based BTU budget for new codes rather than the simpler, component performance or other methods that have been used in the past to address the complexity that the 2066 puts into the mix. Thanks.
Thank you. Lisa.
Hi, thank you. Lisa Rosner with Evergreen Technology Consulting. Just a quick comment in the BIAW letter with the recommendation to roll back the energy code back to the 2015. That recommendation does not take into consideration, frankly, a myriad of improvements in the energy code from that addition to now that involve many things that have very little to do with what type of fuel source is being considered, as well as health and safety elements in the code, particularly with regards to envelope requirements. And so just wanted to point that out, that particular recommendation is kind of like taking a hammer to the whole process and really removes a lot of very beneficial work that has been done by the State Building Code Council. Thank you.
Thank you. Patrick.
Yes, thank you. This is Patrick Hanks with the Building Industry Association of Washington. I just want to provide some brief comments in support of our letter. We've had an election, and this measure was put to the people of the state of Washington, and they've spoken. They want the energy code to not prohibit, penalize, or discourage the use of natural gas in any way. The AG's office and the Department of Enterprise Services determined that the passage would require changes to the code, and this was put into the measure statement, and voters were aware of this. So while technically it has not passed yet, there will be little to no time between the certification of the measure and when it goes into effect. So when that happens, our view is that the 2021 state energy code will be illegal to enforce. And so we tried to give the council a couple of solutions that they could use to quickly bring the code into compliance, to help builders have a code that's legal, to help code officials have a code that's legal. There's robust discussion you can have about those two options and about all the various factors that's going into this. But, you know, we feel it's very strong case that the code needs to be changed. And if it's not, the ways that this will get challenged will put the direction of the code out of the council's hands. So if the council wants to keep the fate of the energy code in their hands, which I've heard members say before is something that they want to do, you know, it's necessary to take immediate action to get ready for when 2066 will go into effect. As for the different options, our builders and our members are enthusiastic about the idea of going back to 2015 because it's a lot easier for them to comply with. It's more affordable. They're very familiar with it. And there might be some building officials that feel the same way, but we understand that, you know, there would be discussion about that. And so we wanted to provide another option. That's why we also suggest moving forward to the 2024 model code, which I think would address some concerns there. And I haven't heard anybody discuss yet. We tried to provide clean, simple options that didn't require a lot of amendments or changes, so that it would be easier for people to provide input and get that through emergency rulemaking. Our view was that to get the 2021 code into compliance would take a substantial review and changes that would take too long to get it ready by the time the law goes into effect. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Abby?
Hi, thanks for letting me speak. My name is Abby Bowl and I'm with PAE Consulting Engineers. And I am absolutely in support of keeping the 2021 Washington State Energy Code. However, I would like to propose an idea, maybe to address a couple of the concerns within that energy code. So we have a lot of experience implementing heat pump technology throughout Washington State. And one of the very difficult tasks of doing that is accommodating supplemental heating, as Greg Johnson has pointed out. As we probably know, in Climate Zone 5, you are allowed to use natural gas as your supplemental heating. However, the prescriptive requirements say that in Climate Zone 4, you shall use electric resistance as your supplemental heating to a heat pump plant. I would like to propose that they consider allowing natural gas as supplemental heating throughout the state, as I think that that gives everyone in Washington State an option to use and rely on natural gas should they choose to, and also mitigate the impacts of the cost of upgrading the electrical service to accommodate both electric resistance and heat pump heating. So that's just something I would like to put forth after a lot of conversations with owners and electric utilities, particularly small and rural areas where the demand of upgrading building electrical service to accommodate both electric resistance and heat pump is somewhat insurmountable. I think that this would help reduce the cost of the prescriptive path and also allow for natural gas.
Okay, thank you, Abby. Senator Wilson.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I see on the agenda, we're discussing the letter of BIA, but there's nothing on here talking about 2066 in general. I think in the beginning, Joe indicated, well, he made his case for why we don't have to do anything. But I think in the public interest, because this meeting is being shared publicly, we need to go into what the council is looking at as far as possible litigation and the fact that we can do emergency rules. The APA allows it. The last bill that we passed, 6291, allows it so that we can come into compliance, because when it is certified on December 5th, we need to be in compliance. So if we are not, that's when the lawsuits will start. And we know that there's some coming up. At least that's what we've been told. So I think for the general public to know that we are considering all angles of this, we should have a robust conversation about it. Is that today? We should be doing it today because it'll be in effect before any other building code council meeting that we have.
I think we're doing that right now, for sure.
Okay.
Tim Atterbury.
Yeah, this is Tim Atterbury with Associated General Contractors of Washington. Just wanted to weigh in support of BIAW's letter. And then I had a question for Shell. And you don't have to reveal this at all. Everyone's vote is a secret. So just want to put that out there. But did you vote for 2066?
It's an interesting question. Did I vote for the initiative? I voted against the initiative 2066. Yeah, I voted. Yeah.
Why does that matter?
Yeah, I just thought a lot of his conversation earlier was that he didn't think that 2066 conflicted with the code currently as written.
That's true, but I thought, well, we could get into political discussions, but, and I don't know that we need to go there, but I thought the other part of 2066, because there were two main pieces of 2066. One was about the PSE bit about studying decarbonization, and the other one was about the energy code, or the building codes rather. And I didn't think either was a good idea.
Tim, did that answer your questions?
Yep.
Okay. Roger?
Yeah, I have a lot I could say. You know, going back to Tom's comment about the financial aspects of 2066. Interesting opinion or interesting post-election survey that was reported in the Seattle Times today that 44% of the people that voted yes for 2066, their main reason was to keep the state from forcing homeowners to spend tens of thousands of dollars to convert their homes to all electric. I don't believe our code allows us to do anything to an existing home. The code only applies to new buildings, not existing homes. So on the financial side, anyway, that's commentary on 2066. However, I recognize that 2066 as of December 5th will pass. I think we need to address it. How we address it and when we address it, I think is something that we need to come out of this conversation today. I don't think any proposals that we would put forth today could be voted on. It certainly would go against the Open Public Meetings Act and the ability for the public to weigh in on their opinion. I do disagree that, well, first off, I believe both choices, in my opinion, both choices presented by BIW would put us in conflict with other sections of the RCW. I did a quick look at the RCW myself. There were 6 places where it talks about providing efficiency. So how do we do that according to 2066 and not put ourselves in conflict of all of the other sections of the RCW? And then Chell brought up the EPCA, which if we are in conflict with EPCA, my understanding, not being an attorney, but federal law surpasses or what takes precedent over state laws. So if 2066 would somehow put us in conflict with EPCA, I wouldn't think that we could do that. However, I have always said over the past few years, as we have been threatened by lawsuits, and that is what I have no doubt that BIW will file a lawsuit if they are unhappy. I would also expect other lawsuits are potentially out there. So, you know, I think as a state builder council, we need to make a decision on how to move forward irrespective of threats of lawsuits or even lawsuits once they're filed, we need to figure out what's the right thing for us to do. So I am, I don't think, I don't believe that emergency rules are something that would be required. I don't think that there is an emergency. There is a new section of RCW, and we need to figure out a way to go about that. And I think that we need to go through our regular rulemaking process of taking some proposals, having technical people discuss those proposals, allowing for public comment throughout the whole process, and coming to at the end, making a recommendation. So I don't know what action the council could or should take, or if we're ready to make a motion for some action, but I believe we should, and I could make a motion for this if people think it's appropriate at this time, but to probably form another tag and start that tag process so that we can look at proposals of how we may or may not modify the energy code to comply with this new rule that is in effect. So that's what, whenever, Mr. Chairman, you can allow other comments if you're getting to the point where you're looking for someone to make a motion on how to respond to this letter, and or respond to how we address Initiative 2066. I'm happy to start that process. So,
because we're already in the energy code commercial process, we're about to begin the energy code residential process. EPCA sets the minimum efficiencies of equipment. It doesn't really, to me, I don't see where it addresses a fuel source.
well,
But
Damon, I don't know that today is the time for us to argue whether or not EPCA applies or doesn't apply. Shell made a pretty good argument that it does, but, it would be in conflict. So I actually think that we need to come out of this discussion today is how is the council going to move forward? I think we have to somehow move forward and address Initiative 2066.
Okay, we'll come back. We got some hands up. Todd.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to speak to the letter and to process. I want to state firstly that I think BAW is a serious 501c6 organization. But I think in this letter, the proposals are unserious, pathways forward for the state, for this public process. And I also think that the threats are kind of unserious contributions to our public process. It's not the State Building Code Council protecting the authority to conduct this public process. It's a responsibility given by the legislature to conduct this public process. And in that, I tend to do agree with Shell. If we focus on the residential as a good proxy, there are three pathways right now. We focus a lot on the most used, which is the prescriptive pathway, which has the bundles and tend to have the most discussion because they specifically state different appliances that are part of bundles that meet the same equivalency of the performance pathway, which has always been there. If anything, I don't believe the current energy code is null and void. If anything, if there's consideration, we would, while we're working on the 2024 changes to the code, you could propose that the prescriptive pathway go null and void as a consideration. I don't think we have to do that, but I don't think that's what the authors of this letter are proposing either. But that's always been there and should be given, performance should be given strong consideration, or the passive house pathway. So thank you for allowing me to state that.
Yeah, and it's pretty widely accepted around the state that the performance pathway has never been utilized. And part of the reason for that is that the code reference home tends to move in conjunction with the target home. Therefore, you can never outpace it. So, and that's data I've gotten from WSU. So just an observation.
Yeah, and I agree, it's there, and but I don't think that's what the authors are promoting.
Right. Pete?
Yes, I would like to make strenuous objection to asking council members how they voted in the last election. I believe that is well out of order. And I urge all council members to refuse to answer such questions in the future. Our personal beliefs are not part of this public process, and I won't be answering such questions. So I don't know whether that's technically a question that would be considered out of order for rules of the meeting, but I think, Damon, you need to consider that. So thank you.
Thank you, Pete. I think your point's well taken. Representative Rommel.
Thanks. Agree with Pete on that one. Thanks for saying it. I guess I would just say that there are a lot of damned if you do, damned if you don't potentials in front of the Code Council based on the enormous uncertainty created by 2066. I certainly don't agree with many pieces of this letter from Building Industry Association. I think the legal analysis is lacking a lot of specificity. I think Shell has made some important points, but I frankly would like some more time talking with our attorneys. Our executive session today was cut short largely because of sort of a technical hurdle with the operation of Zoom. That's understandable, but I think this council needs to spend more time in executive session, understanding the risks and responsibilities in front of us before we make any big decisions. So with respect, would speak against, I guess it's the proposed motion to form a tag, but would instead motion that we, wrap up or table this discussion and have an additional executive session in the near future to be able to address this issue.
Thank you. Jay?
Thank you, Chair. I'm not prepared to act today, especially on an emergency basis on the proposals presented by the BIAW's attorney. Proposed options involve an international energy code I know nothing about, and a combination of a 10-year-old Washington State Energy Code and the 2021 Building, Fire, and Mechanical, Residential, and other codes, where we don't have time to look at the implications. In the press, opponents of Initiative 2066 anticipate a challenge of the constitutionality of the initiative based on the requirement of a single subject. By my read of 2020-66, it involves repeal of House Bill 1589 involving Puget Sound Energy. It puts new requirements on other utilities. It has the discussion of the building code. It puts new limits on county zoning policies and programs. It puts new limits on city zoning policies and programs. Shell's analysis also questions on whether changes are even required given our current code's focus on efficiency requirements. So clearly, there are potential issues to be reviewed with our attorneys and or even adjudicated. I believe that Roger's suggestions are premature. We already have an energy code amendment process underway, and we should continue that course for developing policy, and don't see the need for the council to take any action at this point. It's something I think we should continue to monitor in future meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Mike Kennedy, you had your hand up earlier and I see you're unmuted. Did you have a comment?
No, I think it's premature at this point.
Okay.
I think there are some fairly simple avenues to I agree with the point that if we're emphasizing building efficiency from a straight site energy basis, that I'm not sure that, I think there's a few little sections, but the codes I don't think conflict with the initiative. But to the extent that there is, I think there are some pretty easy changes, certainly to the commercial code, that would at least temporarily allow you to keep the bulk of the 2021 code until the various court cases get resolved, if that is the way you choose.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Patrick?
Yes, thank you. To start off, I don't think it's helpful or appropriate to question people's intent or seriousness. Particularly a case where, I like to think that I try to be a good faith member and participant from the public. I try to go to all the meetings. I try to provide good comment. I try to be helpful and productive in the council, following all relevant statutes, and I try to propose solutions to help them wherever I can. And I think there's a case here where, in a couple of weeks, 2066 is going to go into effect, and that will immediately create immense legal risk for the State Building Code Council. So I tried to suggest to our legal counsel some possible avenues that could quickly be taken in to protect the council and the codes. And also, I don't think anybody's mentioned it, but local jurisdictions, if they're enforcing codes that penalize or discourage natural gas, they'll also be at risk, and they can't take action or change the code themselves. They're waiting on the State Building Code Council. So to keep that in mind, if you're not going to take immediate action. So I think there's a case that there is an emergency because of the immediateness of this going into effect. I can't speak, whether or not there's going to be challenges, but currently, irregardless, those won't come into play until after it goes into effect. And when it goes into effect, there'll be legal risk. I'm not going to debate the 2021 code. I think there's plenty of evidence from across the spectrum of stakeholders that there are issues with it at 2066. Thank you.
Thank you. Angela?
Yeah, so I just wanted to agree that I don't feel that action is appropriate. I think emergency action is would be more of a gut reaction. And again, both of the options that are the easy outs for us that have been provided would then put us in violation of just another portion of state law. And we haven't determined as a council that there is even a conflict with 2066. So that would be my choice, is no action right now.
Okay, thank you. Couple parting comments as I see all the hands down. Oh, it looks like, go ahead, Joe.
So I was just getting to that as well, which could be, I guess, I have a lot of questions about this, like other speakers, and there may be very specific things that disincentivize gas in smaller ways on this in the code, as was brought up by Abby and Mike Kennedy. Overall, it's about efficiency. We're likely to get sued no matter what we do. So to Lisa's point, rolling back the energy code to a prior version is also not legal for the RCWs we are under. And to other points, we have to follow the APA. We can't just change something. So I'm going to suggest we table this, get more input from the attorneys, and chart a path forward. We're taking up the commercial code revisions next year. So we could address any of these as part of that, or as part of the normal rulemaking process cycle, or as part of a special rulemaking process if we see an immediate need. So I'm going to make a motion that we table this letter, or it's table, I guess, maybe that we don't take action on this table, or don't take action on this letter at this meeting.
Second.
Okay.
So the motion is to not take action on this letter today.
Okay. Representative Rommel.
I'll second that just for sake of discussion. I'd reiterate my interest in having an executive session discussion with our attorneys sooner rather than later, likely before our next meeting.
Yeah. Okay.
my hand was raised just a moment because on exactly that point, it would be very helpful if there are specific questions that members have that we coordinate that and get them to the legal team so they can, not just be dealing with questions from all, at the moment from all sides, but if we can put together a list of questions, maybe through staff, that would be helpful, and then we can get it over to the team so they can show up to what looks to be an executive session coming up. I don't hear any disagreement with that. Fully prepared to answer the questions that are out there.
Yeah. Dustin, don't we have a meeting that's kind of pending or not officially scheduled as of yet?
Yes, but it is intended to occur after December 5, so I think we would need maybe a motion to have another special meeting for this topic as well.
Okay. Is it the body's desire to meet before December 5th? Anybody want to comment on that? Maybe a straw poll?
Yeah.
Please.
Yes.
Okay.
I guess I'd ask our attorneys if they feel like that's urgent. I'll just acknowledge like the next couple of weeks for me are really packed. And so fitting in another long meeting like this is going to be a challenge. I'm willing to do it if our attorneys think it's necessary, but I'd be happy to do it at the next meeting if they think that's all right too.
Yeah.
I guess my response to that is there are clearly, what I'm hearing is there are clearly people who feel that immediate action is necessary and others who aren't as sure of that. So I guess it's up to you all to decide how to balance those two issues. We would be prepared to meet, at either time.
Tom?
I think answering that question is one of the primary questions I've got for you. Is do we need to meet now?
Right.
What's the urgency and of course you can't answer that now, but that's the key.
Okay. Ty?
Dave brought that up. I mean, I feel very certain or pretty certain that immediate action is not needed. And whenever we can fit in the meeting, I'm all for it, but I'm kind of with Representative Ramel. The scheduling something, depending on how much time we're talking about, it's going to be tough, but whatever we can do sooner is better. But I certainly don't believe that there's action needed today.
Okay. Chell?
I heard vague mention of it. Is there building code council meeting in December?
Yeah, I'm anticipating trying to have one on December 20th to move our group 1 code proposals towards CR 102. And then we would have committee meetings the week before that. And then we have tag meetings probably all the way up until those meetings occur. So that's kind of the current outlook for what we're doing right now. I am willing to do another executive session and council meeting come next week. We got tag meetings on Tuesday and Thursday. So any of the days that aren't those days would be most attractive to me. But we can make it happen at any time. And I think that's all I want to say.
Okay. And for some reason, I just look at my calendar. I have 9 a.m. next Friday set aside for SBCC. So I know it's not an official meeting. It was just hey, reserve this date just in case. So that
we have that set for the legislative committee meeting.
Gotcha. Okay, Senator Wilson.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. You probably know that I'm going to disagree with not doing anything because it does go into effect on December 5th. And if we don't ask more questions and get more answers prior to the law going into effect and we do nothing, I think that speaks volumes. So I think there needs to be more information coming from our attorneys as far as where this could lead us in liability and, in any legal aspects, even if there are not having any lawsuits. But I think we need to continue to discuss this with more information available to us prior to that.
Okay, great. Jay?
When we're looking at scheduling a executive session, my thoughts would be to optimize for getting full participation versus an arbitrary December 5th date. I do think it's important to have it before our next meeting. But really, given the schedule challenges this time of year, would really think let's optimize around how we can get as much of the council to be able to attend as possible.
Thank you. Representative Schmidt?
Yes, I agree with Senator Wilson. I think that we need to meet before December 5th. I think have another executive meeting with the attorneys. I think that by not doing that and waiting until the next meeting after the law goes into effect really shows that, I don't think it shows good faith on our part as a committee. And it doesn't show good faith to the constituents of Washington State that did vote this initiative in. So I would like to have an executive committee meeting. I know that the time restraints, everybody has, definitely I have those as well. But I also think that if we take this commission or this committee seriously, or this council seriously, that we need to move forward with having another meeting prior to December 5th.
Thank you. Okay. Angela?
Yeah, I think what Representative Schmidt meant was an executive session. Okay, so, and I agree with that I think we need to, as soon as possible, that we can get the group together, have an executive session so that, again, we can more in-depth and with less of a time restraint, try to actually get our answers, find out which way, we want to go. And so that would be my request.
Okay. And looking at the bylaws, I do have the ability to call a special meeting. I think, and Dustin, I'm going to call on you next, but what I was going to ask is, could you look at your calendar and maybe recommend 3 or 4 dates and send it out and get a poll?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
In regards to that, so we essentially have a little less than 3 weeks till December 5th, with a holiday in between. And so then if we have a clear direction for staff to move from the council, it would be my desire to potentially have this meeting next week, in order to give staff ample time to prep any documents that might need to be filed by December 5th. I think that if we wait until the week of Thanksgiving, we probably won't have good attendance. And if we're doing it days before December 5th, we'll have a tough row to hoe. If we have any OTS documents that have to be prepared, OTS is currently slammed with legislative work that they're working on right now. So we are going to have an expected longer turnover for any of those documents that we need to work on. And so next week, it would be my preferred target. And I'll look at the calendar and propose some stuff there, but I'll also propose some other dates as well, so we can get a good polling of the folks out there. But I just wanted to point out that the work needed to do to make the action or to take the action will take a little bit of time, and I want to make sure we have that time available to do.
Okay, thank you. Roger?
Yeah, I want to, the meeting on the 18th or the 20th of December, being involved in both the IBC tag and the IFC tag, that's going to be a very full meeting already. So I would suggest that we bifurcate the 2 conversations. I have absolutely no, I do not think we need to act by December 5th. If we act before December 5th, we're going to get sued. If we don't act before December 5th, we're going to get sued. I think we need to figure out what we think is the best way to move forward. So an executive session is by far the best thing that we can do, the best next step that we can do. If it's before December 5th, great. If it's not, so be it. We aren't going to take any action at the executive session, so we were trying to do something immediately before December 5th. You know, it's calling another meeting, and I just don't think that's going to happen. And like I said, even if we did take action, we're going to get sued. I will remind everybody that one of the lawsuits we are currently defending against suggests it's an OPMA lawsuit, suggests that we did not follow procedures. So, and interestingly enough, BIAW is involved in those lawsuits. So I think that we need to take our time, figure out our own process, figure out the best path for us to move forward. December 5th is going to come and go. We're going to get a lawsuit from one side or the other, and we just need to continue to move forward doing what we think is best.
Okay. Great. We will poll the members as to their availability and set up a special executive session meeting here soon. It is 11:13. I'd like to give.
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
We do have a motion on the table, so maybe we can dispose of that.
I'm sorry, we had so much discussion afterwards, I forgot there was a motion. Will the maker of the motion restate their motion, please?
Yes, the motion is to not take action on this letter at this meeting, and instead convene to get more input from the attorneys.
Okay. I believe there's, Jay, were you the second on that? No.
I think I was.
Bramble was.
Okay.
There's Representative Ramel.
Okay. Go ahead, Roger.
Yeah, I just want to comment on the optics of this. In my opinion, this is exactly what we should do. We are taking our time and making the right decision and not doing something half-assed and quick.
Okay.
So that is the optics as far as the public is concerned, is we are trying to figure out the best way forward and address Initiative 2066 the best way that we can.
Okay, thank you. Jill.
There's also one other thing that I didn't think was mentioned today, which is that the section that I-2066 has an effect on is called adoption of codes, which to me means that it's applicable to the adoption of codes. We've already adopted 2021 and we're in the process of working on 2024 to adopt them. So I just want to bring that up because it hadn't been brought up before.
Okay, thank you. Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor of taking no action today and having a later meeting?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. It's about 1:15. I know my stomach's grumbling. Let's go ahead and take a half-hour break. We're halfway through the agenda, but I think some of the topics were the bigger ones. So hopefully we'll be on time here. We will reconvene at 1:45. Okay, everyone, welcome back. I'm looking at the list of attendees. It appears that we do have a quorum of voting members. So unless somebody wants to have a roll call, we can go ahead and proceed. Okay, item number 10, the NWGA petition rule decision. Dustin.
I'm gonna turn this one over to Krista. I'm driving the screen, so
Okay.
she'll tell me where to
If
go.
you can go down to where there's actually the change language.
Yes. I went past it.
No, keep going.
That's all I got.
That's all you got? Oh, you have the wrong document there?
Give us just one moment.
Life cycle and emergency rules, Gas Association.
Use that one.
This is why you shouldn't let me have vacations.
You heard it, guys. No longer allowed to have vacations for Krista.
Well, it was fairly simple from my recollection. It was modifying two exceptions in C403.1.4.
Kristen, Dustin, you're looking for the full CR 102. It was part of the September council meeting documents, if you're looking for it. I believe that's the same one.
No counts.
This one right here.
Yes. Okay. Sorry about that. Oh, so this was a petition from the Northwest Gas Association, and the council directed the filing of the CR 102 with two options, one being retaining the rule as currently published, or retaining the WAC as currently published, and you can scroll down. The second is changing two of the exceptions.
The underline section.
Yeah, there's for ground source heat pump and air to air heat pump, just removing the reference to electric resistance just to allow all supplemental heating. And we had a hearing back in September on the issue. You have with the documents today a summary of all of the testimony received. All of the testimony that we got was in support of option 2 for the change to the WAC to remove the reference to electric resistance for supplemental heating.
Okay, is there an action we need to take today?
The action would be to direct staff to file a CR 103 with whatever language that the council would like to adopt. Or if you want to file a supplemental CR 102, have another hearing or anything, we can go that route too.
Okay. Ben, go ahead.
Thanks. I guess looking at the options, I would support option 2. However, I would comment that within option 2, item 5.1 should also likely be adjusted to remove the reference to electric resistance heaters and instead state internal supplemental heaters. Thank you. And I guess to clarify, based on talking with some manufacturers, representatives in the community, we've learned that there's viable options for air-to-air heat pumps with onboard supplemental gas heating that provide an option to make this type of equipment work effectively as a viable option for supplemental heat. Thanks.
Okay. Is there Representative Mel?
Yeah, thanks. I I'm maybe misunderstanding this, but is this similar to the recommendation we heard during the last discussion item to allow gas use for supplemental heat in other heating zones? And if so, I guess my comment would be if we're going to go back and have another executive session, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, to talk about that, about potential responses to 2066 that could include that recommendation, that this could end up needing to be, or could end up being bundled with proposed solutions that could come out of that discussion. And so this seems like our desire has been increasingly to try to bundle off-cycle changes to the code. So it seems like that it might be better to wait on this, if I'm understanding correctly.
Okay. Ben, was that, did you make that in the form of a motion?
No, I guess initially I wanted to just kind of state where my thoughts are on the options that we have. And I guess I'll mention, like, this has gone through our rulemaking process. So we've had the time and iterations for public comment and for review at various stages in council meetings and committee meetings. So I guess as our action today would be focused, we have this on the table. We could obviously take steps to defer this for later action, but we do have this as a option to look at in isolation.
Okay, Jill?
My recollection of this, correct me if I'm wrong, was this the one that was considered a significant change in the from the CR 102 to CR 103, and therefore we had to go through a rulemaking for this? Is that my recollection correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Yeah, I think this is a relatively minor change that would benefit the energy code, and so I'd be in support of this as well. I think to your suggestion, Ben, that some other part of this be modified, my understanding is when we, per 6290, we can't make any changes without 24 hours notice of those changes. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we only have the two options in front of us with no other, I guess, if we pass it today, we have no other recourse other than those two options, option 1 and option 2 within the CR 102. Is that correct?
That is correct. We would have to go back and file a supplemental to any additional changes that were outside of the scope of the original request.
Okay, so Ben, I'd like to hear more from you on the change you were suggesting.
Sure, and Tom, I don't know if you want to go or if I can respond to that.
Go ahead and respond, Ben.
Yeah, go ahead.
So this would be specific for 5.1, where right now that statement identifies internal electric resistance heaters as a supplemental means of heating for the equipment. So, and puts in specific requirements for the operation of those devices. So if the section no longer limits supplemental heating to electric resistance, then a gas supplemental heater may not have that same requirement for control to allow the heat pump to operate by itself. The equipment itself may already have that, but the code requirement would not be there. So I think it would make practical sense to include gas supplemental heat in that section. However, I'd still support the option 2 language as shown without that change. Thanks.
Okay, then maybe just because we couldn't do it today and we'd have to go through another process to do that, maybe we approve this today, and then as part of any remedies to 2066, if we do some remedies for that, we would do that as part of that effort. Does that seem reasonable?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, that's all.
Tom?
Yeah, I was going to respond a little bit to that too. And perhaps if we did accept those as option 2, would the other one then just become editorial and we could just do it then right now too? Because it'd just be cleaning up the other language to match what's there.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's important to get this out too, so.
It would make the proposal more stringent.
Correct.
Right now, it's only requiring those controls on electric resistance. The change would make them required for all supplemental heating equipment.
Okay. Abby? Abby's got her hand up. Okay.
Thank you for unmuting me. Yes, I was the one who made the suggestion in the previous conversation as a method of addressing some of the concerns of 2066. So I think that if there is already a mechanism to make this change, this could be a great solution to address some of the concerns that are brought up in 2066.
Great.
Thanks.
Lisa?
Hi, thank you. Just one comment with regards to the proposed change. When left with just stating that buildings are permitted to utilize supplemental heating, we're expecting that we will get questions about, well, what type of supplemental heating is allowed? You know, is it all forms of supplemental heating or something like that, so that it could be clear that this is not prohibiting any form. So it's just a recommendation that if there's any way that maybe there's an editorial revision that can be made, so that is a little bit more clear. Thank you.
I'm unaware of any type of supplemental heat other than electric or gas, but Roger?
Yeah, I'm wanting to figure out how to get this passed along, but I also want to figure out do it right. So Ben, if I can explain in my layman's terms what we're talking about here. Right now, buildings, it would say buildings are permitted to utilize electric resistance primary heat, but we're saying supplemental could be either gas or electric. Correct?
Yeah.
I mean, is it already implied that the primary heat is something other? I mean, we're only talking about supplementary. So can you explain to me what the situation is and what would the primary heat be?
Sure. And maybe Krista, you could scroll up to look at the whole section. So all of these are exceptions to the requirements to use heat pump heating.
Okay.
And so one of these or two of these that this proposed change is addressing is supplemental heat for item 5, which is air-to-air heat pumps, and then item 7 for ground source heat pumps. So the primary heating source in these instances would still be heat pumps.
Okay. So in a situation right now, if you had electric supplemental heating, 5.1 would be required, which basically says that the primary heat you have to use the primary heat when you can, right? You can't rely on the supplemental heat.
Correct.
Could it, or would it be possible if you say, okay, well, I'm going to install a gas supplemental heating, and I'm just going to make it run at 100% so that my primary heat doesn't have to run?
And I guess, yeah, I mean, not to get into the technical details of it, but the change would be allowing for gas or electric supplemental heating. However, the subsections below those stipulate different sorts of controls and mechanisms for ensuring that the heat pump heating is used when appropriate.
Right, so if the way it is right now, if you had an electric resistant supplementary heater, your heat pump would have to be used primarily, right? But if you installed a gas supplemental heating, somebody could theoretically set the controls so that that gas supplemental heater really becomes the primary without taking out that word's electric resistance in 5.1.
So 5.1 provides some requirements. However, the other subsections also stipulate, like 5.2 requires the controls to be, for the heat pump to be used as the first stage of heating down to a certain temperature.
Okay.
And then there's additional requirements in 5.3.
So you're saying
as
the
well.
other requirements would keep somebody from setting it where that supplemental heat runs all the time?
Correct, in practical use, yeah.
Okay.
So I don't believe it's opening up a Pandora's box of
Then I'm in favor of option 2. The language it's there. And we're going through the commercial energy code right now, I believe. So, let's pass this along for the current energy code. If there is a cleanup in that word, let's do it in the next code cycle. That's my thoughts.
Okay, Senator Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, so I'm trying to clarify this in my own mind as well. So Roger's concern seems to be that someone could use the gas supplemental heating and kind of divert from the HVAC. If we didn't allow them to change to a gas furnace because HVAC doesn't work in their area, which is kind of the reason why they're supplementing it with natural gas. According to 2066 now, we would not be able to hinder them from changing that to HVAC or from HVAC to natural gas, the entire thing. Is that not true? Because we can't pick and choose any energy source. And that's kind of EPCA as well, right? EPCA, you cannot require one energy source over another.
So this system, this air-to-air heat pump, that is the system. That's what they've purchased and designed and bought. The supplemental kicks in when the temperature drops to a degree where it can't perform. Therefore, it's not, the system itself isn't designed as a gas furnace primarily. It's just there to back it up.
I get that. But is there the option then to change it if you wanted to?
It's an exception.
You would be changing your credit choice.
Yeah.
Okay. Does that limit the use of gas?
No, it's an option in the energy code. You choose based on your credits. Electric, you get more credits because it's more efficient. But if you choose to change to gas, which the code does allow now, you just don't get as many credits. And so you have to make up efficiencies in other places.
Okay, so I think that answered my question. That is limiting. If you're giving more credits to another source of energy, then you're choosing one energy source over another.
No, you're basically saying you're required to meet this efficiency. And in order to do that, the electric meets it in addition to these items. But if you choose to go gas, which is a less efficient, then you need to do these other things in order to make it as efficient as if you chose electric. So we're not, again, this was kind of Chell's sort of his PowerPoint. Was it showing it's choosing, it's basically just holding them both equally accountable.
The two changes that we're offering are source blind. They don't favor one source over another. So, Chell?
Yeah, I was just gonna make a motion to move option 2 into the CR 103 process as written.
Okay.
And with the understanding that 5.1 could be modified either through the 2066 process or through the code change proposals process that is starting very, very, very soon.
Okay. Is there
Second,
a second? Is that you, Jay?
yes, sir.
Okay, motion in a second. Ben?
Chell, can you clarify if you're referring to option 2 of the CR 102?
Yes, I'm referring to option 2, which strikes the word electric resistance from 2.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, so I would support that as well. And yeah, I think it's easy to get sidetracked on a lot of discussion going around, but yeah, I think it would be good to focus on passing this through for rulemaking. Thank you.
Okay. Shell, did you have anything further?
Not now.
Your hand's still waving at me. There we go. Okay, seeing no further hands up. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. MVPE committee report. Will the chair take that one away?
Okay, so the MVPE committee met on November 8th to consider a number of opinions regarding the energy code. There is one issue we wanted to get some more details about and forwarded to the full council for action. That's the third bullet point there. We also walked through a number of draft opinions on the energy code that we're making and made some suggestions for clarity, but because the other draft opinions were released just the day before the meeting, the committee tabled action for further consideration to allow for further consideration and public comment. We plan to have another meeting before the end of the year to consider action on those draft opinions. Second item, or the other thing that we looked at during our meeting, was the commercial code integrated draft. The Washington State Energy Code is kind of its own beast given legislative direction and follows a little bit less strict framework than the adopt, amend, reject of the ICC amendments that we did previously with other codes that we talked about in meetings earlier this year. Instead, the Energy Code tag created an integrated draft for consideration that incorporated a number of ICC definitions and clarifications into existing code. Shell can highlight any significant changes, but there wasn't anything of concern that the committee noted. Staff's proposing, I believe, a 30-day period for submissions for open proposals based on that integrated draft to consider changes for the commercial code.
60 days.
It's gotta be a 60-day period.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I wasn't sure on that 60-day period. Thank you.
Okay, Shell.
Since my name was called, I'll add a little bit to that. So for the integrated draft, we take the Washington State Energy Code commercial from 2021, and we take the 2024 IECC, and we find the bits of code language that are more stricter from the two of those to mash them up. And then there's a few other things. And we had a great group of tag members who are very, very, very diligent and want to submit a lot of code change proposals for a lot of things. So I sent to Krista last night a list of, I don't know, 20 or 25 code change proposals that the group realized we couldn't in those sets of meetings get to the end of, but the tag wanted to, as individual members, submit a bunch of code change proposals as well. So I think Krista's going through the significant changes document, and I think there are some things in here that will be noticeable. There's a different way of doing psi factors and other things, or a new way of doing that for calculating the envelope. there were a lot of minor updates as well. So I don't know that there's anything huge that we did. And again, we could only take the language from the 2024 IECC or the language from the Washington State Energy Code 2021 and select among those, except in a few limited cases where we modified a word or two in something. So I guess that's my supplement to Jay's report on that.
Okay, do we want to pull up the opinion that we wanted to bring to the council?
Yeah, unless staff needs action on the integrated draft. Needs the full council to take action.
Why don't we well, no, I guess we do have the integrated draft first.
Okay. Yeah, Krista, what action are you looking for in this?
So we're looking for the council to as recommended by the TAG and put that out for the basis for code change proposals to the 2024 Washington State Energy Code commercial provisions.
Okay.
And then open that proposal window for 60 days.
Okay. Shell?
I'll make that motion.
Now we'll second it.
Okay. Patrick? Can we unmute Patrick?
Yes, thank you. I brought this before the committee that I noticed a slight discrepancy between the traditional process of the energy code integrated draft and the official policies and procedures of the State Building Code Council in WAC 5104-020 that talks about committees transmitting separate reports for the significant changes, the existing state amendments, and then proposed amendments. I was not aware that Shell had prepared these supplemental documents. I appreciate that, although they're not available publicly and weren't submitted at the committee level. But I just want to notify that for future, the council might want to look at matching their official policies, procedures, and their tradition of how they approach that with the energy code. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Ben?
I'm curious if there's an ability to extend the proposal window past 60 days. And I guess from staff or others, if that creates a schedule challenge, just given some of the upcoming changes and complexity of some of the proposals that might be introduced. Thanks.
We can extend beyond 60. We can't go below 60. As far as the scheduling challenges, a longer period kind of shortens our digestion period on the backside of that. So as far as the specific challenge to what we've got going right now, I wasn't anticipating a longer submission period than 60 days. So I don't have a good answer on how that might impact our overall ability to complete the work.
Ben, did you have any follow-up on that?
No, I guess given that the period will kind of overlap a lot of the holidays, it does feel like it's kind of compressing the proposal window a bit. So I'm happy to hear from others on if there's thoughts on if we'd want to extend it by some margin. Thank you.
Thank you. Roger?
Yeah, I have kind of taken on the self-appointed myself as somebody to keep driving the schedule forward, knowing that the challenges that we had last time. I know that there's a whole lot of work for the whole council to do next year. And given my experience with the IFC and the IBC tags, these proposals don't come in until right before, most of them anyway. So I would recommend that we give the 60 days, and then that gives the proponents plenty of opportunity to submit their proposals and get the process moving.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor to move this forward. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Which one would you like to hit next?
We have
Now we're going into the opinion, yeah.
Okay.
Not sure the PDF of the word.
I've got it.
Okay.
I think I have it. Find it. Not used to working only with one screen anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was an opinion request we got in from the city of DuPont, asking if Insultech's house wrap met the requirements of the 2021 Washington State Energy Code. And the proposed answer was the council cannot make a determination on the approval or use of specific products. As the enforcement authority, the local jurisdiction must determine if the alternate testing procedure used by the product is equivalent to the required federal testing procedure specified in section R303.1.4. The committee added some additional notes from Chell that R303.1.4 references the CFR Title 16, Part 460, which requires one of several tests, including ASTM 51817, standard test method for steady state thermal transmission properties by means of the heat flow meter apparatus. Insultex was tested using a modified 518 test that included an air gap and reflectivity, and it appears that those are not allowed by CFR Title 16, Part 460. And then gives a reference to that. We also had some testimony at the committee meeting from WSU on, let me see if I can share that.
It's like it's linked on the website.
It should be posted, yes.
Yes. On some of the literature from Insultex with some specific comments on the fact that it is not an ICC tested product for thermal properties, just for air admittance and thinking,
I think it's like an air barrier, right? So
yeah,
it's okay as those things, but it hasn't been
right.
tested per my research, which this is not my expertise exactly. It's near my expertise, but it didn't seem like it was been tested for thermal resistance. And I think we heard something similar from WSU.
And Rick Blumenthal is requesting. This is his information, so.
Yeah, Rick, go ahead.
Can you folks hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. So yes, this was tested as well, as the circle says here, for water resistance, surface burning characteristics, air leakage, and drainage. But of course, if you scroll down, they're advertising this right next to, if you scroll down on what I sent. I mean, there's a lot of information here. I think you want to go back up. I apologize. I'm looking for one of the photographs. Keep going if you can. That one right there. There you go. They say with our value. They don't say what it is, but they say it's with our value, and they mention ESR 1108. If you take a look at ESR 1108, there's no mention of the words Insultex house wrap. There are manufacturers listed with their products, that one of the manufacturers also makes this product, but it's not listed as one of the manufacturers also in 1108. So there's a lot of questions going on here. Also, if you take a look at C518, and Krista, I did send that late to you this morning in an email. I underlined some of the high points, because if you take a look at the federal standards and the ASTM standards, one of the first sentences says that the modified test method is for flat slabs. So, and this is the one they tested it on. So the point is, there are a lot of questions, and I'm very clear that, you know, the State Building Code Council, Washington State University Energy Program, et cetera, we can't approve or disapprove, but we should be able to put information or language somewhere in the code that provides what it is that's an approval, specifically for materials or products or systems as they are listed in the code, as opposed to a general rule of what might be accepted, like referencing the ICC codes or some such thing like that. Might be something to consider. Thanks.
Okay. Let's go back to the interpretation, if we could. Shell?
Yeah, Damon, is this the product you're familiar with?
It's not, I'm not. I think I mentioned during the committee meeting that several people have reached out to me on this. And, you know, I basically said the same thing, that it's not the council position to determine if one product's good over another. But I am familiar with vacuum insulated panels, and that's essentially what they're claiming. Is they've got a micro vacuum insulated cell, but it seems that it's also porous. And if that be the case, it's no longer vacuum insulated. So I made a comment in an email chain that if it was indeed a vacuum insulated panel, it could meet the R value claimed, and they use that as part of their marketing. So I had to contact them and say, you know, please don't use my comments any further. Going into this further, and with the information that Rick provided, I do not think that this product lives up to the claims that they make. That's just my personal opinion, and with my building science background. So, just Jay.
So just kind of to sum up, from the MVP committee discussion, we wanted to highlight some of the issues that have been brought up by Richard and others without changing our stance that we're approving or making a ruling on specific products, and hopefully providing information for building officials to make their own appropriate determination.
Yeah, I think the response as written hits all the right points.
So with that, I'd like to move approval of this interpretation, or of this
opinion. Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Rick, is your hand still up, or?
No, I'll take it down. Thanks.
Okay. Okay, there's a motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Think that completes item number 11.
Thank you.
Okay, number 12, the Amerex petition for rulemaking.
So on this one, we currently have an emergency rule out there amending our IFC 904.1.1. This rule allows for NAFED certified personnel to continue work on pre-engineered fire suppression systems. As part of the work in conjunction with the emergency rule, we have essentially the same language being put forward for the 2021, and we have a proposal that's moved forward from anticipated to move forward from the tag for the 2024 code. So we're trying to correlate all of this into so that we have continuity across the 2021 and the 2024. We have Jamie Knowles, should be online here today to speak on this a little bit. But this, what we're looking for here today is council action to move the proposed language of 904.1.1 to the CR 102 phase in rulemaking. And so I'm talking while I'm trying to pull up the screen share and it's slowing me down. So I should have it here, and the language might appear a little confusing here as well. Currently in the WAC, we have two section 904.1.1. One had an effective January 1, and then we have a section that was the effective language until January 1. So with this proposal, the second section will go away, and we will have kind of what's drafted here on the screen before you. And then James has his hand up and looks like he's ready to go. And so I would, I guess, ask him to speak on this one a little bit.
Thank you, Dustin, very much. Last time I was in front of you gracious people, you voted through an emergency rulemaking process for this. That emergency rulemaking process went to the IFC tag. We worked hand in hand with the IFC tag to come up with the language that is on the screen for you. And we would appreciate a vote to move this forward. The second exception that you see that's underlined is specifically what we were talking about there. And there was a work requirement that was discussed briefly when I was with you last time, and that turned into and manufacturer's certification on the second line. And that was proposed by the IFC tag and agreed upon by us. So the proponent and the IFC tag appear to all be in agreement that the language in front of you should move forward. And we would appreciate a positive vote to do so today. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a council member that would like to move that we take this to CR 102? Roger?
I have a question, and then I would probably be willing to do that. I just wanted to be clear. So we have an emergency rule. This is action to go into CR 102 to modify the 2021 code. Right. And then the 2024 code, I'm assuming this would get passed along, although it may not be now in the current IFC criteria. So am I correct in the process that we are making a change to the 2021?
Correct.
Okay.
Then I would propose that we move this along to CR 102 process.
This is Dan, I second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to move this forward. James, did you have further comment?
No, I appreciate everyone's time. Thank you.
Okay. It looks like we got an iPhone. We have a user. There we go. Go ahead and unmute.
All right. Sorry, I'm on the road. This is Ken Brulette. Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Hi, representing Seattle Fire Department. Just my question, I guess, back to staff is during our tag meeting, the language for number 2 for the 24 is slightly different is there going to be an issue if we try to move that language? Do we have to republicize this?
We shouldn't have to republicize this one, but with the comment, I'll want to make sure that the language is the same because we're making an attempt to draft that proposal to reflect the change that we're making here today in anticipation that it's moving forward since it's had positive motion across our process so far. So I'll need to just make sure that the language isn't gonna be an issue with our filing documents.
Okay, just because the language that was approved at the tag for the 24 says and certification from a manufacturer or manufacturer's agent. And I think it should be nice if we correlate the 24 and 21 language so it's the same.
Okay. I'll need to make sure that I can have that taken care of. I don't have that right here in my meeting folder for today.
And if I could just get that confirmed by Mr. Knowles that that's also the language that he thinks got approved at the meeting for the 24 code.
Oh, Jamie, are you still here?
Yeah, go ahead, James.
Sorry, I had to unmute again. Yes, Ken is absolutely correct. Ken, thank you so much for pointing that out. I did not catch that deviation here. The language that Ken suggested or quoted is the language that was approved in the IFC tag. So yes, I apologize, I missed that.
Okay.
And that's my error. I tried to draft this one up for the CR 102 since we're moving forward on that one. So I need to pull that out. And I guess if that's the case, I don't know. Go ahead, Roger.
Well, I was going to say, whereas the CR 103, we can't make changes at the meeting. The CR 102 is still putting this out for public comment, and there still may be modifications. Am I correct in that?
Correct, as long as they're not substantive changes.
And so my proposal is to move this along to CR 102 with the editorial change presented by Ken Brulette that matches up the 2024 code language and this code language, and then put this out for public comment through the CR 102 process.
Thank you for that, Roger and Ken.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
So that's my modified proposal. I don't remember who the second was.
It was Dan, and I agree with you.
Okay. So we've got a motion and a second on the table. Ken, did you have anything further? Your hand's still up.
Okay. Took it down.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no further discussion, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, legislative committee report. Tom?
So, yeah, Tom, if you wouldn't mind introducing, I'll pull up our document that we have for the council today.
Okay, yeah, I was just unloading my layered windows here to find my mic button. But anyway, so as we've talked about a number of different times throughout the last several months, legislative committee has been talking about, proposing some amendments to their authority to interact with the legislature on issues, and primarily for the purpose of making informative comments on things, both when asked to and then, maybe offering them if it's deemed necessary. And I don't know if everybody's had a chance to read through this, but if not, do so now. And these are things that we decided at the last meeting that we'd like to bring before the full council for adoption.
Is this something that we want to incorporate into the bylaws, or is this a policy?
I think for the moment, we are looking for to be in a proactive stance for the legislative session. Yes, I do believe it needs to make its way into the bylaws. But I wasn't prepared to, have that motion made today. I don't have a draft on where that would be inserted.
Okay. So this is just kind of an outline, Tom, then of how we intend to proceed until we incorporate this into bylaws or policies.
Correct.
Okay. Katie, comments?
Yeah, thanks. That was basically my question, and if it's not going in the bylaws, and given that it's going to be sort of seems like this legislative session might be a trial basis, if we could add something that just says this is for the 2025 legislative session, and we could revisit how things went at the end afterwards, or make changes as needed, I guess, during the session. But if we could put it in the motion here that it would just be for this legislative session, not in perpetuity.
It looks like that's the first sentence.
It just says it's been planning for the 25 session. It doesn't give a time frame afterwards. So
I think the nature of this type of thing, though, is that we can change it whenever we need to.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay.
Okay. Roger?
Yeah, I was going to say, and I can make that a proposal or a motion if needed, but that was my memory of how we left this discussion is let's get this clear from the council for the 2025 legislative session. And the council should consider making this modification to the policies and procedures for future years. So we could do that in the motion rather than modify what's on the paper. And in fact, I would like to make that motion that we approve what's on the screen for the legislative committee authority for the 2025 legislative session, as long as that is in session. And follow up with that for modifications to the policies and procedures at a later date.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Todd?
Thank you. Roger, the only thing I heard there that I maybe disagree with is during session. I thought we had maybe talked about the ability before session while bills are under development and so forth. So can we remove that limitation?
Sure, Todd. I was trying to say, put an end date to it. I hadn't thought about the front end. Yeah, I guess the motion would be from today's meeting through the end of the 2025 legislative session. Are you okay with that, Todd?
Yes, I think that's consistent. If others can help me.
Yeah, my thoughts were, just like what happened at the very tail end of last session, where Todd was asked to, or, member from the council was asked to, inform on some issues. Having that ability to do that would be beneficial, I think, to the entire process. I think my view is that just because of the way this is stated, if there is a need to make an abrupt halt to it at any time, or if there's a need to make changes to it, because it's not quite yet official bylaws or anything like that, it could be relatively simple to do. And the council would always have the authority to change any part of this that at any time that it sees fit. So I guess I would ask that maybe we have a little bit more leeway than less right at first on that as far as the timing goes. And then if we need to make changes, that we do it at the time we discover that it's necessary.
Okay. Representative Rommel?
Thanks. Yeah, I guess I don't have any big concerns with this, but would just flag that it is pretty common for groups and stakeholders coming to the legislature to say some version of hey, I'm part of this group. I don't speak for the whole group. We haven't had a chance to discuss this issue yet, but speaking for myself, here's my position. And I think we're pretty accustomed to hearing that and understanding the context that falls in.
Okay, perfect. Micah, then Todd.
Thanks for allowing the public to have some input on this. We did this, I was part of the discussion on this as well, with the committee. I think it's great that you all should have some authority there. If you didn't want to come back and put this in policy, or if you anticipate doing that, but with the workload you have over the next year, maybe you won't get to it before the 2026 legislative session, you could just add a note in here that states that this must be voted on prior to each session or something like that. Again, I think policy is great, but I don't think you're going to get to the policy in the next 12 months. Thanks.
Thank you. Todd?
Thank you. I know we just had this legislative meeting, but I had to reread number 2 about 3 times to remember what we're trying to say there. I still think it might just be a little wordy and not good language. And it might be a little conservative too, because I think 4 enforces that obviously they would not, no one would take a policy position without an action by the full council like we did say last February, I think it was, when we testified to House local government, I think it was, on the WUI code. So I wonder if there's just better language in 2. And I also, I don't know in that last parentheses there whether it's really needed on the qualitative nature. That qualitative might be part of the technical also without taking a position. I think the inform is the important part there. So I'll leave it open. Thank you.
Okay. And again, I think this is simply an informative document, not really an official document. It's just a guideline for the committee. Senator Wilson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'm actually following what Todd was saying. I'm a little confused as to what the technical application of the scope of the Building Code Council policy, not on the qualitative nature, which kind of is a technical application of it, or effect of the bill. Because sometimes that takes a while to figure out what the effect of the bill is, and that's why we have, other processes down the line. But yeah, I think that is worded weirdly. So I think we want to tighten that up a little, because if you're not going to take a position unless you've had the full council and a vote on really what you're going to be presenting as the council later, then, and I would say also that once those votes are taken, you may want to be taking roll calls. I've kind of thought about that today, that it's kind of like a pass or no pass, but the people that vote no, if there's ever there was one that voted no, they maybe want to be on the record for voting no in one of these cases. So that's just kind of a side note. Thanks.
Yeah, and always call for a division of the House. So, Tom,
can I respond to part of that?
Yes.
I think, when we're talking about the technical aspects and such in that first part of 2, they're what's outlined in A, B, C, and D for clarification.
Okay.
And so maybe there is some language tightening we could do, but I think that's what explains what we're after there.
Okay. The only thing I see an issue in this particular proposal is number 1. If you look at Article 4, special council meetings, currently the bylaws say they can be called by the chair or a majority of the members. So we're now giving power to a committee that does not exist in the bylaws. Certainly, if there's anything that came up, the larger concerns, I would certainly, as chair, support the committee chairman and call a meeting if necessary. So if you want to strike that, I can assure you I won't keep you hidden in the closet.
Should we maybe just say authority to ask the council chair to call a special meeting?
Yeah.
I mean, any one of us could do that anyway.
Yeah.
It just kind of highlights it as
I just want
something that we may end up doing.
I just don't want to have something conflicting with the bylaws. That's all.
Yeah, no, I hear you there.
Roger?
Yeah, Dustin or Damon, I actually think, I don't know, there may be something as far as item 1 goes, I thought that there may be something under the legislative committee in the bylaws. So anyway, I'm not concerned if we got rid of it. I kind of thought it was not a big issue anyway, because if we need to have a special meeting, it's easy for this group to ask you and we do it. And I just will comment on item 2. We were trying to wordsmith item 2. We spent a fair amount of time on that. And I think the concern about it, and then we added item 4 at the end of the discussion. And item 4, I think, is really what we were trying to work around when we came up with item 2 and put the parentheses in. So, we are trying. We don't want, as an executive committee, to take a policy position without the backing of the full council. That's a major policy position, but we do want to inform the legislature and committees on impacts to the code. So if I made the motion to approve it as is. If somebody wants to make a motion to amend that, I'm fine either way.
You can amend your motion.
Yeah, but I don't know that I don't care. I'll amend the motion to get rid of number 1.
We can just we just modified it. It's fine. Oh.
I unmodified it, but I'll, with what Roger just said, I can do it like that, or I can put it in for the modification that I had on screen.
Go ahead and change it, and then it becomes 1, 2, and 3 rather than 2, 3, 4. But that would be the motion, current motion, and I don't remember who seconded it. Katie, I think.
There you go.
I'm fine with it.
Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 14, Executive Committee Report. At our Executive Committee, our primary focus was making sure that we are in adherence with the small business impact statements and the
Cost benefit analysis.
Thank you. CBL. Justin, do you want to elaborate on any of that?
Just that the discussion was that we had have received criticisms in the past on the way we do those reports and the content contained there. And as an outcome of that meeting, there was a motion made for staff to outline and come back to that committee or the council with a plan to move forward for our current code adoption process. So as we move into CR 102 phase for group 1, I anticipate having a better plan of attack for the council to produce those reports. And as another aspect of that, we were talking about potentially soliciting a contract to help us get the data we need so that we can write a report that is founded better with data for the public to consume.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments, Todd?
I just want to say that I found those meetings very helpful and really relevant, timely. As we're going into obviously the committees and the council consideration, but just as importantly at the TAG, to make sure we're collecting the right information from the subject matter experts. So thank you everyone for that.
Yeah, I agree. Roger?
Yeah, I remember that there was another point that's talked about quite a bit, and that was the work group on economic impact, and which is defined in our bylaws. So it is, maybe it's not a standing committee, I'm not sure, don't quote me on the name of it, but it is formed in the bylaws.
It is.
And just the need, and I think Dustin, coming up with a better process is making sure that we engage that work group on economic impact in that process of reviewing these proposals. Try to make sure that we get the information that we need.
Okay. Patrick, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Dustin and the committee for taking a look at that and looking at ways that we can improve the process for the 2024 cycle. Really appreciate it. Thought it was really good discussion.
A good resource as well. Roger, do you have something further? Okay, there's your report on the exec committee. Item 15, new petition for A2L refrigerants.
So we have a petition here to make some changes for the A2L refrigerants. I neglected to put the actual petition document on the website, but I have the proposals that they're moving forward or asking us to move forward with. As a matter of course, we cannot take action on this petition at this particular meeting as we're introducing it. So I believe Eric Vandermeer was the one who submitted the petition to the council, and I'm not here. Is Eric, are you prepared to talk on these at all?
Go ahead, Eric.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes, I can give a brief introduction as to the need of this. Thanks for getting us on the agenda today. So the State Building Code Council reviewed, or the MVP committee back in September reviewed 17 different question and answers that were submitted by the City of Bellevue in regards to IMC Chapter 11 refrigeration systems and their correlating changes to ASHRAE 15. The ASHRAE 15 and 34 standards, both there's been numerous changes. So the 2021 IMC is based on the 2019 version of that. There's been dozens of addenda to both of those standards to address the A2L and other refrigerant changes. And in talking with various folks in the design community and owners and developers and code officials, you know, there's really a need to update the 2021 codes to reference the latest safety standards for how to use refrigerants. And so all three of these proposals were reviewed for the 2024 code cycle by the MVP tag yesterday. Two of them were moved forward and one was tabled as far as the 2024 process for further review. So two of these proposals are based on 2027 IMC proposals to clarify the code and to correlate with the ASHRAE standards. One of them is editorial changes to mirror a lot of the questions and opinions of the State Building Code Councils that were part of the 17 questions that were responded to back in September. And, you know, the primary need here is so that every project in the state does not have to go through a code alternate process under the 2021 code to really streamline this process for both code officials and owners and architects and engineers on projects and have consistent enforcement of these provisions throughout the state of Washington. So that's what the request is for. And I'm here to be able to answer any specific questions as to why we think this is necessary. But yes, thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Ben?
Yeah, and yeah, thanks, Eric. Could you expand a little bit more on kind of what you've been hearing, I've been hearing in professional practice regarding the availability of kind of the status quo refrigerants, and then what's kind of driving the need for action on A2Ls to allow them to be installed in buildings?
Yes, so both, Washington State Department of Ecology has adopted their kind of phase down plan for refrigerants. A lot of this is impacting split system type installations for split system heat pumps, but also just any kind of units. And then we also have the federal EPA phase down programs. And so, where we had a much longer timeline for some of the mechanical equipment for Washington State identified, the federal deadline is essentially January 1st, 2025 for a lot of these systems. And so at this point, we've, over the last few months, basically starting in August, we started to see manufacturers no longer being able to sell the R410A small HVAC equipment. And they're just because they have to have it manufactured and shipped by the end of the year. And they're, in the US by the end of the year, essentially to meet the federal guidelines there. And so, there's a lot of projects that are 2015 or 2018 code projects that can no longer get the equipment needed for those projects and are having to transition to the A2L refrigerants. So and then we have the new projects under the 2021 code that need a clean, rule set. So, this transition is happening very quickly based on the federal guidelines. And, we just need the latest safety standards to be able to properly install this equipment that's the only equipment we can currently procure for projects.
Roger?
So Senator Wilson can probably respond to this better than I, but I know that we have limits on what we can do as far as emergency rules, given the new law that was passed. But what I'm hearing is there is an emergency and that these changes need to be made to the current code so that because of the federal guidelines and projects not be, is that the right definition of why this is an emergency?
Are you asking me?
I'm asking, I guess, either Ben or you, Eric. Somebody.
Yeah, I would say that this is definitely the A2L refrigerants are slightly flammable refrigerants. There is inconsistencies between the ASHRAE 15 standard and the International Mechanical Code Chapter 11. One of the big changes in the 2021 codes is the code was revised to essentially say you have to comply with both Chapter 11 of the IMC and you have to comply with ASHRAE 15. ASHRAE 15 wasn't fully developed for the A2L refrigerants. By the time the IMC went out, it wasn't even fully developed for the 2024 IMC. And so those proposals are getting now just into the 2027 IMC. So there are definitely inconsistencies that have to be resolved between the two. And if we do not resolve some of these inconsistencies, we're either going to have different enforcement happening in different jurisdictions, or we're really going to be increasing the cost of construction for these projects. So for example, a multifamily housing project may have 400 units on it. If they were using mini split heat pumps, there are pathways in ASHRAE 15 that are allowed that do have a more cost-effective installation of those mini split heat pumps that you do not have to provide a rated vented shaft. You can follow other pathways. And so it's going to be up to the code officials on a jurisdiction by jurisdiction basis. They have some direction from the opinions of the State Building Code Council, but they would essentially have to manage a code alternate for every one of those projects. And so we could be talking, on a 400, unit apartment project, adding, anywhere from 200 to a couple $1,000s a unit per residential unit to have a cost-effective installation to meet the heating and cooling requirements in those apartments. And we know we need cost-effective housing in the state. So I think this allows us to have a consistent rule set and a consistent enforcement across the state for these provisions. So.
Yeah, my point is it sounds to me like it's a very, very good thing to do, but also thinking about our timeline and staffing of the State Building Code Council and the rules, the new rules for us when we can and can't make changes to the code. I just want to make sure that we are qualified under the emergency rules, and yes, we can make these. And then it sounds to me like from your description, we meet the threshold that yes, it's emergency and we should go through as a staff, as a council and move these forward. But I just want to make sure from a process that we're doing it appropriately.
Yes, understood. I'm looking for the council to figure out if there is a way to do that, and do we meet those requirements, and we'll work with folks to provide information needed to help understand, to provide the documentation needed to meet those requirements. So
okay. Chell?
Yeah, what I heard, and maybe I misheard it, but there was that a federal law changed or a federal standard changed, which would trigger our ability to update the code to do something, is my understanding. Was that correct?
yes.
What changed?
So both ASHRAE 15 and ASHRAE 34, what are called continuous maintenance standards. So those standards are continually being updated by the committees based on the current life safety requirements for these different systems. So like I said, ASHRAE, there's been 35 different addenda to ASHRAE 15, 2019 and 2022. There's a few more that are in review, but we really need to get to the ASHRAE 15, 2022 threshold to have any correlation with some of the requirements of how to properly install these systems for VRF systems and mini splits and other things. So,
Chell, does that answer your question?
That's not a federal law. It's a bit of a standard, right?
Okay, Ben?
Thanks. Yeah, I think I was just going to mention what I think Krista or Dustin is bringing up right now. For this section, then today, my understanding is that we are reviewing the petition only, and there's not going to be any council action on that item.
Correct.
Yeah. Senator Wilson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted you, yes, that is in the law and it's in 3405-350-1B. So anytime there's a state or federal law that has to be complied with and or have an immediate adoption of a rule, then it can happen.
And we're also not required to do the small business economic impact statements or cost benefit analysis for the APA on if we're doing this to comply with state or federal laws. If I recall that specific section correctly, I'll pull it up.
Okay. Is that Ken? Is that you on iPhone?
Yeah, it's probably me again. Probably a question for Eric. Eric, did the ASHRAE 15 get also updated to 2022 version?
Yes.
So I guess my only thing is I just want to make sure if the petition might need to get modified to show that for the WAC 5154 for the fire code, that a proposal that it gets modified to update the reference standards in the building and fire code to that to the 2022 also, for for the 21 code? Because it doesn't, the 21 code only reference the 19.
Correct. Yes. So if there are references to ASHRAE 15 in the IBC or IFC, then yeah, I would recommend we also update those references.
Okay.
The code proposal I submitted just has the mechanical code reference getting updated, so we'd have to catch that in correlation.
Got it. All right. Thank you.
Okay, so Dustin, what's our next step on this?
If we're done discussing it, we table it till the next council meeting. I mean, we can put it on the agenda for one of our special council meetings coming up. But at the outset of this one, I had anticipated having it at a January meeting. But if we see fit to move it forward sooner, we could have it at the December 20th meeting. But as Roger pointed out, that's probably going to be a little bit lengthy meeting coming with the IFC, IBC, IEBC, and IMC Group 1 code change proposals. There might be some lengthy discussion at that meeting. So I had anticipated the January meeting for the next movement on this.
Okay, Jill?
So if we did something, that would be an emergency rule. Is that what I was hearing?
Yes, sir.
And my understanding of it is if we would need to find an emergency or one rule, one meeting, and then we couldn't do anything about it until the next meeting. Is that correct?
I think that we're just not allowed to act on the petition at the meeting where it's introduced. So we could potentially find that there's an emergency at this meeting, but we still couldn't necessarily move forward on any action.
Okay, and I was kind of asking the exact opposite, which is if we don't do anything this time, could we do something next time? Because that would be the second meeting that we've seen it.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So we don't need to do something this time to reserve the right to act next time. Okay, cool.
Yes, sir. Cool.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, we'll take it up at the next meeting.
Do we need to take public comment on this item at all, or?
We can.
I don't know, it was just checked. I want to make sure that there's, anyways, thanks.
It's not checked, but we could. Looks like David Reddy has something.
It's checked for public comment, not council action, I think, so.
David Reddy, Brian 368. My question was for Eric. If the amendments you're proposing include SRA 15, another standard approved addenda or not, or if it's just based on the standard as approved.
I'd say these are the State Building Code Council opinion did say that the latest the interpretation opinion said that you can use the latest addenda of the listed standard. So that is clear in one of the opinions from September. These changes are very general. They're mostly very specific conflicts between ASHRAE 15 and IMC Chapter 11, and there's also pointers, additional editorial pointers between the sections to help folks actually know where to go to get the information. So ASHRAE 15 has a lot of changes, like how to design a proper system for a VRF system. You know, none of that, most of that language is staying in ASHRAE 15, and we're not bringing that into the IMC. So we're not trying to duplicate language.
Okay. Great. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the 2025 meeting schedule.
So I had hoped to develop a nice graphic of a calendar with some dots on it showing meetings. I did not get to do that, but my proposal for the council to consider is that we have council meetings monthly throughout 2025. The gap in council meetings from May till September in this last year rendered the the September agenda quite bulky. And a comment was made earlier today that, you know, we have had a meeting that was at 4 hours, and the 6 hour long meetings are a bit of a challenge for folks to make room in their schedules for. So I'm proposing that we have meetings monthly, except for the month of December in 2025. And we would continue to have them on the third Friday of every month. I do have a quick Word document that I have drafted up with the concept, but it's just not showing the exact dates of all of the meetings. Let me pull that up for you guys here. So I'd be looking to have council meetings every third Friday, January through October. And then on November 14th, I moved it from the third Friday to the Friday before that, so the second Friday, so that we can have a little bit of extra room on our final adoption date for the 2024 codes. And you'll notice that trend throughout the rest of these meetings that I'm proposing here. For the BFRW and MVPE committees, I would propose that every second Friday from January through October, and then November 7th, and then no meetings in December. And then on these committee meetings, if we don't need to have them, we would cancel them. So the goal here is to get them out there so everybody can expect them. And if we cancel them, then you get time back in your schedule. For the executive committee, I propose every first Friday. This last week prior to this week was a bit of a hectic week for staff to do the tag meetings we're conducting right now. The executive committee, we didn't have a BFRW committee, but the week was overloaded. So I'm trying to draft out an appropriate time to have these at a regular schedule. So BFRW and MVPE committees, I propose every second Friday. Executive committee every first Friday, January through September. And then the first Friday in October and last Friday in October, so that we have that ability to have them there as the shift was made in November. And then for the legislative committee, I'm proposing to have them on the same days as we had them for the 2024 session. So every Thursday during session, starting January 13th. And through April 24th. That's not representative of the actual session dates, but those are the Thursdays within the session that we have now. And then I also have also as needed for the remainder of the year for legislative committee. That way we we'll continue the kind of momentum we had in 2024, having legislative committees outside of session. And then finally, the work group of economic impact as needed to do the work on our codes and economic statements there. And so very quickly, that's my high level overview. And I would like to get a nice calendar draft with some indicators so you can look at it as a whole and get the actual dates out there. But this is my proposal for the meetings in 2025.
Okay. Todd, comment?
Yeah, the legislative committee meetings on Thursday morning work well. I mean, it's assumed that obviously the ex officios don't have time to join, but it does overlap with some of the 8 a.m. Thursday morning committee meetings. So that could be challenging. I don't know if there's a better way to do it, but just wanted to note that for Thursday a.m.
Which committee meeting are you saying they'd overlap? Just the legislative committees?
The legislative committees on Thursday morning often overlapped with some of the relevant committee meetings. So there just might be some coordination there. Again, I don't think the legislative, I leave it to the ex officios to comment on that. If they wanted to move it to join, we assume they can't, but there were some committee meetings that I wanted to observe. Yeah.
And we could hold them in the afternoons as well. I know that the way it's drafted now allows us to kind of react to the schedules that are published late on Wednesday. And so, you know, I'm not opposed to having them later in the day as well. I just named the day of the week to try to stay with the status quo.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Roger.
Yeah, I appreciate the plan, Justin. I think it works great. Certainly Thursday, whether it's morning or afternoon, it could make, whatever works. I do want to remind everybody that we do set up the weekly legislative committee meetings, and any council members are able to attend. I attended a few of them last cycle. So, and then my second comment is the work group on economic impact. I actually hope that, I believe, as we're developing your plan to better define the economic impact requirements, that group is going to have to meet. And so I would suggest we might almost start trying to work that into as a, I don't know,
A regular meet.
you need it a bi-weekly or something, but as you're coming up with that plan, I think we should put those dates on the calendar as well.
Gotcha. I think that might line up with what I'm trying to do on a revision for the remainder of the 2024 adoption cycle schedule. I meant to have that ready for this meeting, but I just didn't get it there. And so as we visualize the remainder of group 1 work and group 2 work, maybe within that schedule, we can outline specific dates for the work group of economic impact.
Patrick, comment?
Yes, I actually had a question, and I think Dustin kind of answered it. I was just wondering, because it seems like the timeline's gotten a little bit off for group 2. So I was wondering when an amended schedule for that is, that we can know when that's going to start up.
I would like to have that ready for council action for adoption or approval come the December 20th meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. New business.
I believe Roger had something for us there.
Go ahead, Roger.
Yeah, I volunteered to chair the CEMH tag, the Single Exit Multiplex Housing Technical Advisory Group. And there are a few things that I would ask action taken, and I'm cautious a little bit about taking action if we haven't had information out there. But at the last meeting, the tag was formed and the positions were identified. I would request that we open up for applications to fill those tag positions for 30 days. And I would like to start that, Dustin, as soon as you guys feel like you could get the process, things started. But we are already having people ask, can I be on? Also, the 30-day process is the process that, those that are interested. And then after that fact, we as a tag need to go out and see if we can recruit any positions that are not filled. So I would like to get the 30-day application period started next week or the following week or December, sometime, Dustin, whenever you can get that. You're quite busy now, so that's item number 1.
I was going to say, I think we can get that started here post haste. Sometime next week, I can get an announcement out there and start getting applications in.
So, Mr. Chairman, can we make a motion on this other business since it wasn't provided before or announced before? Then I would make a motion that we open up the SEMH tag positions to take applications for filling those positions. And Dustin, I will look at a calendar and suggest that we say starting, I got Thanksgiving, maybe we just start December 2nd.
I think that works, but I might make a friendly amendment to that motion to open up all group 2 tag seats for.
Sure, I was not focusing on the other group.
If that, get the SMEH tag plus all other tags going for recruitment on those seats.
Okay, well, my motion, sure, I'll make a motion to open up all of those on December 2nd.
Okay. Have we identified all the tag positions for the group 2s?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Chell?
That was my question. Is I remember discussing them many times, and perhaps we approved all of them. but I didn't remember, so I was gonna ask the same question.
Give me one moment, I'll pull up the seat composition of all the tags.
I trust you.
Yeah, I do as well. Okay, so was there a
I'll second that motion, by the way.
Thank you. There you go. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Is there any other business?
Yes, I have the second part too, but
Okay.
my SEMH tag, and I realize people are hoping to get out. If I could share my screen, is it possible for me to share my screen?
Should be, let me stop my share and you should then have the option.
Let me
Be a green button at the bottom of the window.
Yeah, I've got it. Just trying to make sure I share the right thing. So I have. I would request that make a motion that the highlighted text be the scope for the single exit multiplex housing tag. And before I guess let me introduce it before I make a motion. There may be comments. It says the tag will be formed to meet the requirements of RCW 1927-115 and RCW 1927-800. The tag will consider and recommend changes to the IBC, IRC, and potentially the IFC. Incorporate single exit multiplex housing as directed by the legislature. The tag will run concurrent with Group 2 tags of the final recommendations being sent to the full State Building Code Council prior to December 1st, 2025. That information all comes from the RCW. It's passed. I actually have it down. I copied and pasted the RCW sections down below. There are some questions I have. Are our recommendations coming straight to the State Building Code Council, or does this tag make these recommendations? I guess I'm wondering what interaction do we have with the IBC, IRC, IFC tag? And actually, I was thinking if there are any other tags. I don't envision that there are, but if we may have something that comes up that interacts with a mechanical tag or something, I'm not sure. So I'm looking for the council for some direction just of that process. Does this tag come up with recommendations that then get reviewed by the standing tags? Or is it meant that this group is just coming up with recommendations that go straight to the Building Code Council?
I don't have an answer for that. Dustin, do you have an opinion?
Well, I was yielding to Chell if he had something, but I had envisioned that the tags would do their work on the focused subject and then take that recommendation to the standing tags. And then,
Committee or standing
well,
tags?
I was using the term that Roger used, but our existing main core tags that we have established in our bylaws, and then move through the process to the committee and then to the council there as well.
So I'm editing this to say to the existing tags, and I'm going to say prior to, boy, we better make it October 1st to give those tags some time to review, and hopefully there is overlap anyway, so it isn't like brand new, but so
I think there's a problem with that date there. If we do December 1, 2025, we will miss our adoption deadlines for 2024 codes. I think we should set a goal at least 2 months prior to December 1. So maybe September 1 for the full tags.
Okay, so Dustin, I'm actually going to take not ask for any motions today. I think I will take this and work with Dustin on this to try to get the end dates kind of figured out. Now that I know the intent is that this special tag will send the information back to the existing tags. I can kind of get, the end part of this figured out, and then we will try to we'll have this language published, and we can hopefully have a quick vote on it at our next meeting. But as long as we can get the applications opened up you know, the process is getting started, so.
Okay.
Okay.
Todd, I'm gonna call on Abby really quick. She's had her hand up for a bit. Abby, go ahead. No, I just put her hand down. Okay, Todd. Oh,
Thank you, Roger, for bringing this up. I guess I had always assumed it had to go back to the TAG, so I'm glad we're talking about it. But your question about correlation is pretty relevant. I don't know that you need to put a date on that, but I think we need to establish who does that correlation, and is it the correlation committee if there is one? And but IBC will have to be pulled back because they'll be done with their other work, of course. But presumably you're leading that anyway for that meeting, and then IRC is going to be the most integrated because the IBC is going to be an appendix, we think. The IRC is going to be the heavy lift.
Well, I will work with, and for those that don't know, there are code change proposals, at least in the IBC tag, related to the single exit. And they are going to be discussed at either the next IBC tag or the one after that. And, you know, with the idea that the tags would just send them to the SEMH tag. So anyway, the process needs to be figured out a little bit. I'll try to work on this and we can hopefully get final approval for what, you know, the direction at the next council meeting.
Yeah, I guess my final point there is I think the IRC has to be a lot more fluid, the whole process, not just a deadline and review it, right? Yeah, thanks.
Okay, Abby.
Thank you for letting me speak. Sorry to chime in one more time. With the other business category, I just wanted to bring a clarification to the previous topic of the CR 102 that was moving to rulemaking process on the natural gas supplemental heating topic. At the time, I did not see the exact text that was proposed, but I noticed in reviewing it again, it does not include item 6, which is air to water heat pumps. I just wanted to call attention to that as you review this code language change, to potentially consider including that language change in item 6 as well, which is air to water heat pump systems. So the proposed language just impacts air to air and ground source heat pumps, but you might include or consider including that change in section 6 as well, which is air to water heat pumps. If that was included, then you would have, you know, you would allow for natural gas in any of the prescriptive mechanical systems as a supplemental heating source. So I just wanted to call attention to that, and I will follow up via email.
Good catch.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Roger, do you have anything else? Okay. Seeing no more hands up other than Abby's. To entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. I don't know that.
I don't know. We
may not need a motion, but I'm in favor of that.
Okay. Any opposed? Great. Thank you guys for a fruitful session.
Have a good weekend.
You too.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Thanks, everybody.